Hi everyone, it's Mike. I was going to talk about my cancer today, and I know you don't want to hear that because nobody really wants to hear about cancer. Basically, because it's really depressing, isn't it? You know. And then there's the fear of catching cancer. But 1 in 2 people are catching cancer today in this country. Now, I don't know whether that's the correct figure. I thought it was 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, but somebody told me the other day it was 1 in 2 now. Why is this happening? Well, you've got to ask yourself, is it the food we're eating out of the supermarkets? You know, what have they put in our food? What carcinogens? I think that's how you say that word, carcinogens, or something like that, have they put into the food? Big question mark. We don't know. And we've got ministers sitting on that cabinet in London, Tory ministers, and we've got a minister there who's in charge of food and how food's distributed and put together in the supermarkets. But can you really trust those bunch of narcissists and psychopaths that are sitting on that cabinet? All upper middle class, or most of them are upper middle class. Oxford, Cambridge and all these upper middle class universities, that's where they went to. Is it our food that's killing us, you know? I don't know, you know, because nobody tells you anything, do they really? And look at how secretive a nation we are. We're all secretive. We don't tell anyone anything. We don't want to talk about cancer if we've got cancer, because aren't we a stoic race of people in this country? The British are stoic, you know. So we never speak out or say anything against anything, or against anything that's wrong, or against social injustice or injustice of any sort. I mean, I've got a family there, extended family. My old sister, she's old, you know, my sister, she rings me up. I've got a brother from across the water there in the Wirral who rings me up. But none of my family have even visited me. And I got diagnosed 18 months ago, 18 months ago. It's stage 3, but I don't know about that. I mean, I was in the hospital today and I was talking to people there, and they were much younger than me, you know, and they had cancer. There's guys in there at 32 who've got terminal cancer, 43. I spoke to two people today, you know, and then I spoke to a lady who was in there with her husband, who'd had a large chunk of his face cut away, and he got muscle took off his thighs and put there and made into a jaw, and the chemotherapy never worked, and this didn't work, and the radiotherapy never worked, and his cancer was terminal. I will say one thing though, I'm lucky to get into Christie's Hospital, you know, because it's one of the, well, if not the best cancer hospital in the country. But there's only so much you can do with cancer, you know. And how do I feel? Well, I wouldn't say I was depressed. What do I feel about dying? I was scared at first, you know, when I first got my diagnosis. I mean, my doctor didn't fast track me, you know. So it was 7 or 8 months till, well, about 6 or 7 months till I got diagnosed, even though I was under, you know, a surgeon specialist. I didn't get diagnosed for 6 or 7 months because I was very unlucky, you see. The COVID just coming in March of the, you know, was it, I don't, March, you know, in 2020. And I didn't think that, you know, I had cancer, but there was, you know, anyway, you know, Matt Hancock shut all the hospitals down and went insane and built hospitals everywhere on the pretext of getting all the people in there who were going to die, but that never happened. But I don't want to go into that because if I say too much about that, YouTube will take the video off, you know. I just want to say to the guy who views this on YouTube, look, I'm not talking here about the vaccines or anything like that. I'm just saying, because of the coronavirus, I got late diagnosis, and you know, as a result of the coronavirus and Matt Hancock shutting the hospitals down early, 38,000 cancer patients could die. I never said would, could die. Plus hundreds of thousands of other patients with other illnesses which have had late diagnosis could die. Hundreds of thousands. Where did I get those figures from? Well, if you go on the internet, you'll see Macmillan, a very respected cancer organisation, the Macmillan organisation. Fantastic nurses, the Macmillan nurses. What have I got to say about Christie's? I had a bit of problems in there, but other than that, very professional nurses, professional, great people, friendly. In fact, the cancer hospital in Liverpool is the same, but obviously in Liverpool they didn't have the surgeons, they couldn't operate on me. They either never had the experience, but I think they did, or they just didn't want to operate because the radiotherapy never worked and they didn't want to give me chemotherapy here in Liverpool. So the surgeons refused to operate, claiming it was inoperable. My cancer was, which is bowel cancer, was inoperable. I asked for a second opinion, and lucky for me they sent me to Christie's, but I think they send everyone there for a second opinion. But I feel sorry for Christie's because it's really it's got a lot of people going in there every day, thousands of cancer patients. But they're doing a great job, they're keeping people alive in there, I've seen people with terminal cancer in there who are still alive 11 years after through palliative care. It's not great, like they're sick because some of them get chemotherapy for palliative care, but it's a different sort of chemotherapy. I was up there today to get a port and line out. See there, you can see the plaster there. Well, there was a port and line there with a line going into my jugular vein, and that's where they used to poke a needle in there and put a pump on, and it would go through and down the jugular vein, down by my heart, and spread out through my body. I can't feel my fingertips now, nor my thumb tips, about that far down. See, I can't feel my toes, they're worse, I can't feel them. My whole foot is numb. My two big toenails that look like they've died, Your toenails can come off because the chemo attacks the nerve ends, It's not very nice. You feel like you're on a roulette table, What's going to happen next? Will this cancer spread? It's stage 3 at the moment. I don't know how, because it was stage 3 16 months ago, 18 months ago. So I don't know, I'm thinking to myself, is it stage 3? I mean, look at my neck. My neck used to be really big because of my job, the job that I did. But look at it now, how thin it's gone and how thin my face has gone. But I have been on a diet, but I haven't half lost a lot of weight. I'd never lose that much weight on a diet before in such a short space of time. I mean, I've lost 5.5 stone, It's really worrying. But then again, I've lost the fear of death now. I've had it for that long, I've lost the fear of death. I went into hospital 3 months ago and I was passing blood after I'd caught the coronavirus. I was passing blood. The coronavirus didn't kill me. Luckily it didn't kill me, but I was very, very ill, I'll be honest with you. And went into hospital in Liverpool, and I was in there for 6 days and it all cleared up. I think I was passing blood, I think I said that anyway. I think the virus attacked the tumour. They did give me blood tests and all that and assured me that the cancer hadn't gone past stage 3. Because stage 4, well, I don't really know the stages. I think that this is correct what I'm saying to you, but I don't know. Because really we don't know anything in this country, do we, when it comes to issues like this? We're not really told, But I think stage 4 is terminal cancer. But I don't know if there's stage 5, but I'm stage 3 anyway. Whatever that may mean. The cancer hasn't spread according to the surgeon, but I went in for a medical, for the operation after the chemotherapy, which has made my fingers and my feet the way they are through the nerve ends, and hair's really gone thin as well. They said we can't operate on you. They gave me a test, where they put, they put all the things on your chest for monitoring your chest, give me pipes to blow down, then put a mask on with pipes coming out. These things were attached to some sort of complicated computer. Well, it looked like that to me. And I had to cycle this bike, which I was sitting on. And well, you've seen them bikes. It doesn't look like a proper bike, It's not really a proper bike. It's just a bike with pedals on it. I don't think there's no wheels on it, Anyway, they tested me and I failed the test. Now the fitness test was for the operation because they're going to operate on me. It's a very arduous, long operation because the tumour's in a part of my colon, which is hard for the surgeons to get to. That's why they didn't operate on me in Liverpool. Anyway, I had the chemotherapy and it did work to a certain extent, but not really to the extent that they wanted it to. And I had to go for the colonoscopy, and I heard the surgeon say to his colleague, it's bigger than what I thought. Now I'm laying that way and he's at the back of me doing the colonoscopy, and I can see the TV, And I thought to myself, oh man, that doesn't sound too good. I tried to speak to him afterwards, but the surgeon was running all over the place. They don't have time to speak to you. They're that busy in the hospitals, doing loads of operations. Well, you can't really do loads because the operations these surgeons do can take anything up to 4 to 12 hours. I mean, mine is going to take 8 to 10 hours, my operation, So they said, you're not fit enough to pass it. And the person who gave me the fitness test was the anaesthetist, one of the anaesthetists there. He said, you're not fit enough, you could die, The probability is you won't die on the table, but you could die when we take you into the ward because you could pick something up in the ward even though the wards are spotless. And your immune system will be so blown to bits, you won't survive it, even something simple. Anyway, which you normally wouldn't even notice anyway. So I thought, oh God, here we go again. Bad luck, nothing but bad luck. The radiotherapy never worked, the chemotherapy didn't work to the extent that I hoped it would work and they hoped it would work. And so it goes like a nightmare, but there's people worse than me in Christie's. There's people where nothing has worked and they're terminal. It's spread to about 2 or 3 parts, 4 parts in the body, to the lung, the liver, bone, everything, but that's not where the cancer originated. And it's really depressing, but we should know about these things. We should know how people feel who are in hospitals. I mean, you've got to go back and forth to these hospitals, I've lost count of the times I've been there. I used to get a taxi to Christie's, but I found it was better if I drove myself. I felt better driving up there myself, and it's a 45-minute drive, It's in Manchester, and I live in Liverpool. It's a 40-45-minute drive. And if you've got an accident there when you're knackered, you won't get there. It'll take you 2 hours to get there, which has happened to me only once, though. Anyway, I got fed up waiting in for the taxis, and some of them were too small because I'm 6'1" and they were tiny little cars they were coming in. Anyway, I'm very down at the moment, but not fearful of dying, because when I was in hospital, when I had the caught the COVID Delta variant, when I caught that, I had to go to the hospital. It wasn't for oxygen or anything like that. It was because I was passing the blood and the pains I was getting in my stomach. Terrible pains in my stomach. They've sent me for all sorts of tests and can't find out what they are, but the surgeon thinks it's the cancer. If I've got to watch what I eat too. If I eat, it can kick it off, and I can't move for 2 or 3 hours. I can walk, but I can't walk far or anything. Do you know what I mean? And I'm really ill. I just have to sit down all the time, put like this, on my knees. But I don't get there all the time, luckily. But it seems to become a bit more frequent now than what it was before, because with cancer things just get progressively worse as time goes by. And, it's not much time, only a few years, Anyway, you know, it's hard there. I'm trying to get fit for the operation, so they stopped the operation for 8 weeks, which means the tumour will probably grow another 2 centimetres. They stopped the operation for 8 weeks, and I'm 5 weeks into that 8 weeks now, and I've been doing as much as I can to try and keep fit. You know, a bit of this here and a bit of that there. I hope it works, and you know, I've lost this weight, but I still need to lose a bit more weight. You wouldn't think so looking at me, would you? But I'm 17.5 stone now. I was, when when I used to speak at these rallies, I was 22 stone, 22.5 stone, with a beard. Do you remember I had a beard? But the worst thing is though, the only people who have helped me are friends and people I've met on these rallies. There's a rally tomorrow in Liverpool, but I don't think I'll be able to go on it. Or today actually, because it's in the early hours of the morning now. And I don't know whether I'm putting this video up, but it's early Saturday morning now, and there's a rally on in the Liverpool city centre. It starts, I think, at 12 or 1 o'clock. I don't think I'll be able to go, you know. Anyway, I can't say what the rally's about because YouTube will take the video off. And it's not YouTube's fault, you know. They're being watched over by the state, by the governments of Europe, and they've been taken in, like in this country, they were taken into Home Affairs committees, and you know, it was all done kind of. They were warned, but not outright. It wasn't outright the way they were warned. It was kind of like, if you do this or you do that, this may happen. In other words, we'll bring out legislation which can harm you. Do you follow me? So they had to do what these government MPs, and the one who was there who was orchestrating all this was our good friend who hates freedom of speech, Yvette Cooper. Do you remember her? She was the one who was running these, you know, Home Affairs committees, and she's in the Labour Party. God knows what we'd be like now if the Labour Party was in. And I don't blame, you know, YouTube and Facebook and all these other companies, but I'll probably get slagged for that because I know a lot of people do blame them. But it's grim, you know. You can't really blame anyone if you've got cancer, can you? Really? I know I got late diagnosis, but and lots of other people have because of the virus, you know. No, well, not really because of the virus, because of what Matt Hancock did. He shut the hospitals down to an extent that he didn't have to, and the hospitals that he built, a lot of them have been dismantled. I think they've just built a couple now though, but they're different. But the big ones that they built, like the Nightingale Hospital, they dismantled it, you know. And as you all know, Matt Hancock's left government in shame, you know. He resigned. But this is what we've got to deal with. Narcissistic, psychopathic ministers, all upper middle class. As I said before, I've gone to the best colleges, totally out of touch with working class people like us who live on council estates and housing association estates. They're out of touch with us, you know. The whole perspective is, it's totally different than what ours is, you know. You've got to look at the behaviour of Boris Johnson, what he's been up to since the COVID kicked off, you know. It looks like he'll have to resign himself. But Boris is clever, like he'll probably work his way out of it, you know. But, you know, who will he put in to replace him? Who'll be better than him? You know, they're all the same. But this is the way things are. You know, we've got 2,000 billionaires on the planet who are, there's a category amongst them, the top billionaires amongst them, who really have got a lot of power, you know. They're like puppet masters, you know, over the governments in the West, in our country and in Europe. And there's not much we can do. We can't even speak about it now on YouTube. We have to go to BitChute to speak about it because they don't take your videos off.